One thing I hear from a lot of people that are interested in street photography is that they're nervous. They're afraid to approach people. I get that. Again, historically, I get kind of shy myself. Again, I can get, over the years I've learned to get past it most of the time. Not all the time, but the thing to think about is you're not doing anything wrong. One of the reasons to be nervous would be if you're worried that you're going to get caught doing something that you shouldn't be doing, but there's just absolutely nothing wrong with street photography. Most people don't even recognize you're doing it. You're photographing them, they're walking by, living their life, thinking things, not thinking they're being photographed. That said, it doesn't matter if they do think they're being photographed because, again, you're doing nothing wrong. You're just documenting the world. You're playing the part of social anthropologist. So if you are doing something wrong, well then, yeah, maybe you should feel guilty, but don't if you're not, because again, you're doing a service to the world. I mean, you're documenting things. It becomes a record. And somebody may never see your record, but then again, people might. Again, your work could be something that is discovered at one point, and like Vivian Maier or others, I'm trying to think of the Spanish photographer who photographed the Spanish Civil War, who didn't expect for his work to be seen. Actually, he didn't want his work to be seen because he was actually afraid that the fascists would come, take his work, and then kill him. That's a whole other story, but he was brave and photographed it anyway. So that he had a purpose. When you're out there photographing on the street, consider that you have a purpose, and your purpose is to go and photograph life in your surroundings. So I don't think that somebody's going to catch you and turn you over to the authorities, or that something bad's going to happen to you. The absolute worst is somebody might get upset and they might ask you, what are you doing? You tell them, hey, well, I'm a photographer. I'm just doing what photographers do. I'm photographing. And you can say it with however you want to say it, but obviously you should say it respectfully and nice. And if for whatever reason they're so incensed that then just erase it. Just make the picture go away, unless of course you're shooting film, which you can't. But like in general, it's really not worth making somebody's day awful. But that said, I think maybe I've probably erased 2 pictures in my lifetime because somebody was upset. And again, they weren't going to be Pulitzer Prize winning photographs. And if they were super newsworthy, I wouldn't have gotten rid of them. And I would then you would know about them at this point because I would have had them out there. But really, the person had, for whatever their problem was, I wasn't there to make it worse. So I don't have any issues with photographing people. I don't have any issues being photographed. I was once on a bridge in Paris, and I took a photograph. I think I took 1 or 2 of a street painter as people were looking at his work. He looked over, and he just seemed to wig out. So I stopped. It was, at that point, the picture wasn't great to begin with, and it was made that much worse by him, trying to flag me down. So I walked on by. He was saying things to me which I didn't understand because my French is still not as good as it can be. And then I got to the end of the bridge, and he had come running over to me with a camera, and he starts pointing it at me and shooting. So I just started smiling and posing for him because I really don't care. I'm not doing anything that I need to hide. So, and I'm not sure how everything went after that, but again, he got me back and he took my photo, and it doesn't bother me. So, and I'm sorry that it bothered him, but again, I'm sure the rest of his day probably went well, and that was that. So I'm sure it's not the thing that's going to, he'll reflect back on his deathbed going, wow, my life is great except for that one time that guy took my photograph from the bridge. So give that some thought. Again, worst comes to worst, there's other ways. Street photography doesn't have to be invasive. Again, most of the time it's not invasive. Just by and large, it's a fairly seemingly passive, although you're actively doing these things, seemingly passive art form. There are, of course, some more invasive types of street photography. The somewhat common jumping in your flash, pretending you're Bruce Gilden. Now, that works for some people, and yeah, again, that one will likely draw some more attention. And yeah, if you're behind it and you've got your reasons and you're ready to deal with, again, you're going to have more people possibly confronting you with that. But again, if you're not doing it maliciously and you're just doing it as more, again, a documentary kind of, or whatever your purpose is, as long as it's not to make them look bad or again be malicious in any way, then stand your ground. Let's go just explain it. People appreciate an explanation. And again, if you're doing what you're doing kind of pure of heart, then you should have no problem explaining it, and then everybody's happy. So that's pretty much that. Go out, shoot a lot, and you're not doing anything wrong. So don't be embarrassed, don't be ashamed, don't be frightened. Get up, get out there, photograph. It's better for all of us.